8 o'clock on CNN. Parker Spitzer, weeknights on CNN.
Are you getting ready to say something blasphemous here?
I don't know. I'm just going to answer truthfully like I always do. Nobody's scared. Nobody's scared. Well, I just think, when it comes to the Democratic Party, I think that they've taken the black vote for granted for quite some time. I'm not in a position the way you guys are, in terms of really dissecting policy the way that you do on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, when I see what transpires in our community, I think the biggest impediment to the growth of our community is the fact that, we don't force people to flatter us. Mm-hmm. We don't sit back and say, you know what, I'm not going to just give my vote to the Democratic Party. I want to stand by as an individual with individual opinions. I want to see what you're offering if you're the Republican Party. I want to see what you're offering if you're the Democratic Party, and I want to gauge what's in my best interest. The black community has not done that for decades, since the days of Barry Goldwater, for crying out loud, with Lyndon B. Johnson. We haven't done it. Theoretically speaking, what I'm saying is when we look at the Democrats and some of the things that they propose, it absolutely sounds marvelous. It sounds like their heart is in the right place or whatever.
All right, so we got a deal here.
But there is such thing as execution. And when you seem inept in executing something, that is a problem. When you look at education, you've contributed money to the education, but I'm from Hollis, Queens, New York City. It's about 20 miles from here. Let me tell you something right now. I went to Thomas Edison High School. It was a very good high school, but there's a lot of high schools that weren't nearly as good. It's rife with African Americans who suffered in the education realm. You look at the job market right now. It's not an accident that the unemployment rate in the African American community is practically double that of the white community. Because why? There are things that haven't been addressed. People need jobs. People need opportunity. But more importantly, you can't always be about, well, we're giving and giving and giving. Really, are you sure that you're doing that? Because if you're throwing money into an empty well, what good is it doing us as a community?
I agree with you on almost everything you've said.
Well,
the results have not been there, but I can tell you the agenda from President Clinton, from President Obama, is the agenda to create that opportunity. The agenda from President Reagan, from President Bush, and then President Bush has been to destroy the creation of that opportunity.
Well,
that's why I agree with you. Negotiate harder.
Listen. What I'm saying to you is this: I'm certainly not going to sit up here and defend a bunch of conservatives. Obviously, you sit there and you look at some of the things that they propose. You've obviously got to be sensitive to that as an African American. But at the same time, who in God's name told us all that the Republicans are evil and the Democrats are angels? Excuse me, last time I checked, they're all on Capitol Hill. They're all in the muck and mire together, selling us a bag of worms, and it ain't working. The reality is simply this. We have to reach a point in the African-American community. I'm looking at you. When you were in office, I sat there and I looked at this guy and I said, you know what? He knows what the hell he's talking about.
That's right.
Period. No, I didn't sit there and go like this. Well, he's a Democrat. Let me automatically give him a vote. I want nothing in return. That's the whole point. The fact is, the African American, you can look at Social Security. Look at something like Social Security. They talk about the average American, the average African American is dying by the age of 55. So that means we're not collecting Social Security, but they're taking money out of our paychecks every week. I'm sorry, how are we benefiting from that? These are legitimate questions.
Stephen, do you have these conversations with your listeners?
Oh, my Lord, I have it with my listeners. I have it with my family, and I'm the Lone Ranger inside my family, and I could care less. I mean, I really believe, look, I give you an example. We talked about Charlie Rangel last time I was on here. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to bring up any negativity about Charlie Rangel, but there is a problem when you blindly support a man and you don't take into account the things, and I'm not saying that he hasn't done good, but you have to take into account the totality of what people are doing and not just blindly support folks.
It's as if I only voted for women just because they're women.
That's not good.
And that's not good.
That's not good.
Sense.
But I want to come back to one particular area that we all agree. Let's take education. Because it seems to me that President Obama, Secretary of Education Arnie Duncan, raced to the top, embracing the things from Michelle Rhee's reform agenda to Joel Klein's reform agenda, getting quality teachers into the schools, all those things.
I love those ideas.
Okay. And that's
I
a
love those ideas,
agenda.
But I also watched the Democrats just excoriate George W. Bush for No Child Left Behind. And basically, wait a minute, that's it. Yes, they did, and you know they did. The fact is that what he was proposing was alternatives. Now, the progressives, the liberals, are supposed to be a party of choices. But how many choices were they willing to give you? What they were saying is if you support the charter schools, what that's going to do is take funding, and it's going to veer it away from the public sector into the chartered sector. That may not necessarily be good. But they didn't give the African-American community an opportunity to make that decision. They tried to make it for us. That's a problem.
When I was governor, no, I'm just teasing.
When we doubled the number of charter schools, New York City, which is a Democratic city, we have an independent
I'm not talking
mayor.
about you.
No. But I'm saying, so President Obama has done everything to push the agenda for choice in schools, for improving the quality of our teachers.
But you're misconstruing what I'm saying. I'm not here to lambaste the intentions of our president. What I'm talking about is when they asked me the question before I came onto the show about blacks and the African American community and the Democratic Party, it wasn't about Obama, because I truly believe his heart is in the right place. I don't think he always knows the best decisions economically, and God knows the unemployment rate shows that.
Whew. Well, you fellas have used up more words in this little segment than I used in about a week.
The man asked me a question. I gave an answer.
Let me just ask you a simple question. Why do you think Republicans have such a hard time attracting African Americans to the Republican Party?
Because their messengers have been god-awful. Their messengers have improved somewhat, and dare I say, by talk radio, as sad as that is to say, it's actually true. You can't find a Republican that looks even remotely comfortable to walk into the black communities throughout the United States of America and send and make sure their message resonates.
Why aren't there any African Americans in the Tea Party?
Well, I do believe there are some African Americans in the Tea Party, and I'm not here to disrespect or insult the Tea Party in any way. They're for lower taxes and less government intervention, and I respect that. And even though we may disagree on some things, I do think that their message resonated. There's a reason Democrats lost 63 seats in the House, 6 in the Senate. It's because there's a group of people out there that look at the fabric of America, and they're saying to themselves, "Why in God's name should we trust you?" That's the thing. That's the message that's getting lost in all this. The more you give to the government, the more you are the more they are asking you to trust them with your money. Why in God's name would I trust a government that's got $13.8 trillion in debt? Are you kidding me? You can't manage your own books. Why should you be managing mine?
I'm with you on all your critiques, but
these are common sense things.
Okay, answer this question.
Sure.
Name one Republican presidential candidate you would vote for over Barack Obama.
I don't want to say
I'm
never speechless. I will say this, though. I would strongly consider Mitt Romney for one reason and one reason only. The man knows how to make money.
We want to take you now to the East Room of the White House, where President Biden is about to sign a COVID-19 hate crimes act into law. Let's watch.
I believe with every fiber of my being that there are simple core values and beliefs that should bring us together as Americans. One of them is standing together against hate, against racism, the ugly poison that has long haunted and plagued our nation. Today, I can say that because of all of you, many of you sitting right in front of me, you've taken that first step. It's an important step. All of this hate hides in plain sight. It hides in plain sight. And too often, it is met with silence. Silence by the media, silence by our politics, and silence by our history. For centuries, Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, diverse and vibrant communities have helped build this nation only to be often stepped over, forgotten, or ignored. Hate can, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, hate can be given no safe harbor in America. I mean it, no safe harbor. It can't be dismissed like, well, that's just what happens. My message is to all of those who think this doesn't matter to them, or this is not a problem, look around. Look in the mirror. Look in the eyes of your children. Every one of us are lessened. Every one of us are lessened, and we're all hurt by this hate. It has a way of seeping sort of through the cracks into communities and children who, in fact, wouldn't have crossed their mind. Words have consequences.